Howdy, Fearless Flippers. We are back at it with Allan Foglio. Earlier this week, Allan talked about his story, he talked about his health, he talked about how he was driving tractors for years. And I'm telling you, if you watched that and you didn't get this overwhelming amount of confidence that you can go out and do it, I don't know if you're going to, because he's just got one of those stories that when it comes down to it, if he's overcome as much as he has, then you can do the same. So make sure to tune in this time to learn a specific strategy where we dive into the BRRRR method, which is essentially just buying a property, rehabbing it, refinancing, putting a renter in there, and then repeating it. So let's take you to Allan and his take on the BRRRR method. Once again, back here with Allan Foglio, and if you did not see the first episode, you got to go back and check it out. Allan's got an amazing story, amazing guy here, and I talked about it in the first episode, Allan, but you really just simplify things, you make things easy, and that was one of the things that I had heard about the BRRRR method before with buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. I have to write this down because that's so many R's I can't remember.
Me too.
But you had a different kind of approach to it. It was like a 5-step. I think you talked about that, and I don't know if you have that off the top of your head, but either way, you just made it so simple for me, and it just mind-blowing, for me, just I was ready to rock that method. And so that's something that I'm in my first project with that, where I'm going to do the BRRRR method, but I wasn't really thinking about it until you simplified it. So, just if someone's looking to start in real estate and you're going to educate them on that, just you got the floor. Just talk to me about what that looks like. How does that work in your business, and how does it work overall?
Yeah, so it's probably a big part of our business. I would say we don't really buy anything that's nice. We're always buying something that we can add value to, whether that's through deferred maintenance, undervalued rent, whatever the case is. So yeah, I'd say it's a big part of our business. I kind of fell into this method on accident. The first property we bought, it's the one that the tenants trashed, my very first property. But to make a long story short, basically, after we evicted them and got them out, now I have a property that's destroyed, right? So we went in, rehabbed it, rented it, and then refied it. So we kind of fell into it by accident.
What is, whether it's a recent story or a story in the past, I would just love to, for our viewers and listeners, be able to talk about that process, and especially the numbers. What did you get the property for? How much are you refinancing? I want to educate our listeners right now on what those numbers look like.
So on that property, we bought it for $65,000. This is probably 4 years ago. So, but $65,000, say, and we probably put 20 grand into it. It appraised for $149, I think. So I think we just pulled 100 on it. Whatever 70% was, we pulled back out. So we pulled that money out and basically went and did the same thing again. So you're just looking basically for value-add properties.
And you said you got 100 out of it?
I think it was something like that. Whatever 70% of.
Okay, gotcha. So what I just want our viewers to hear, if you're driving in the car or whether you're doing that or watching the YouTube channel right now, I want to put this picture in your mind. So $65,000 is the purchase price.
Yep.
$20,000 was repairs. You're $85,000 all in. So that's other people's money, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're probably going to pay them back a little bit of interest.
Yep.
So maybe that is another $5,000. So essentially all in $90,000, but you're getting $100,000 back when you refinance. So you actually not only have everything paid for, you had extra money in your pocket, and now you're putting a renter in there and getting cash flow every single month.
Correct. We actually just did one maybe 3 or 4 months ago. It came from a bandit sign. Purchase price was $55,000. We put 10 grand into it, and it appraised for $169,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we actually I know we put a loan for $100 on that one. So we only had 65 into the deal, and we put 100 grand in our pocket. So any of that money is tax free as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's doing a flip and getting to keep it.
Correct. And that was a 5-bedroom, so I think our cash flow is $400 or $500 a month on that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing.
so that's a good model. If you can find something like that and just repeat it, that works well.
Are you doing that at all with apartments?
We are. So we're buying apartments based on rents, right? So we're buying based on NOI, but the NOI is low because the rents are low. And that's mostly due to like old school owners just like never fixing anything. And so the rents are low, they've kept the rents low and haven't wanted to increase them. So we're buying based on current rents, going in, rehabbing, turning the tenant base over, and increasing the rents, which increases our NOI and makes the building more valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you mentioned in the beginning here, undervalued rent, was
Yep.
that for both single family and apartments?
More on like, I don't really care what the rents are on a single family. That's just me, because it's easier to go in and just either raise the rents if you can, or vacate the tenants and rehab the property, and so you're going to get the rents up automatically. I'd say it's more important on a multifamily.
Okay.
Just because you've got to pencil everything out, and if your rents are $400 and you can get them to $775, I mean, you can add a lot of value real quickly.
Okay.
So
awesome. Let's talk about, in the beginning, I know you were managing all your properties. There's
correct.
Over 80 properties that you own as rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're kind of starting to dish them off a little bit.
Yep.
How in the world were you managing 80 properties on your own? Like, that blows my mind.
A lot of phone calls, man. So, yeah.
And what did those phone calls sound like? Any mad tenants?
Oh yeah, I mean everything you can think of, from so and so parked in my parking spot to so and so slamming their door, my toilet's overflowing, my lights don't work. I mean, anything you can think of, they call about. So yeah, I'm glad I did it though. I put my time in, and we're still managing some of our units. I've handed about 50 of them off.
Okay.
So yeah, we're just learning and growing, man.
If you were to turn back the clock, would you get a property manager in there right away?
I mean, for me, I wouldn't change anything, just because of what I've learned. I think is pretty valuable. Just because if the property manager says, "Hey, X, Y, and Z is going on," I can either say, "Hey, that sounds correct," or "It doesn't sound correct," because I've went through the process. Mm-hmm. So if they tell me, "Hey, it's going to cost $400 to change this toilet," I can call bullshit. Because I've changed toilets myself personally, and paid handyman to do it, so I know $400 is too much to change a toilet.
Absolutely.
So I think it's good if people can do it on the front end. Probably not as long as I did, but for the experience, I think it's pretty valuable.
Well, and in the whole scheme of things, you've only been doing this for 5 years, so yeah, maybe for the overall time of your business, but 5 years is not a ton of time. So you get to buy
it goes fast, man.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, it flies by.
Good. So I guess with there being so many moving parts in this process, what do you think is the number one teammate that you've got to have? Is it the mortgage guy? Is it your contractor? Who is it that you feel like is the most important part to making this work?
I would say probably your construction, to be honest with you. Like, you have to have a good team, especially for us, because everything we buy needs some type of rehab. So you have to have people that you can count on to do that job.
Okay.
So
if someone is thinking, hey, I really want to get passive income ASAP, but they haven't even really gotten the flipping part of it, mastered. They haven't got the wholesale part of it mastered. Is there a stepping stone up to this, or do you feel like someone can start in it right away?
I think you can do anything, man. Yeah, I think they can do anything they set their mind to. They just have to know where they're going, at least a general direction. Okay. They don't have to know how to exactly get there, but if they're trying to get to Hawaii and they know it's that way, they have to at least head in that direction and go hard. So, and you'll kind of figure it out as you go. From
an outsider's perspective, it feels like this might be a method too, that it's good to have some reserves set aside just in case that property doesn't appraise or you don't get the refinance that you were thinking. Is that correct, or am I off on that?
I mean, we do now, but when we started, we didn't. So I wouldn't get too concerned about all the small details. And remember, I don't know everything, and there's guys who are a lot more successful than me, but I just created a lot of activity, and I never thought of anything negative. I only thought of the positive and where I was going, and it all worked itself out. I think if you hit a hurdle or a barrier, you're going to figure out, you're going to figure out how to get around it. So I wouldn't really think of anything negative like off the bat, and I wouldn't give yourself any excuses like, oh, I don't have 20 grand in reserve, so I can't do it. I think that's limiting,
Okay, cool. So with that mindset, was there any learning experiences that led you to getting to that point where you're like, man, I'm just overthinking this, or have you always just been like a just go for it kind of guy?
I don't think I've ever overthought. I mean, you analyze things and look at numbers, but as far as overthinking goes, I mean, just trust your gut, that's probably your best. It's probably your best way to go about it, is trust your gut and just analyze the numbers and make sure the numbers work. As long as the numbers work, man, go for it.
We're going to take your brain and put it into mine because I overthink everything. All right. So is there anything else that if someone's getting into rentals or passive income that you feel like is valuable for them to know?
I really think you'll learn along the way. I mean, if you're going to jump into like a 100-unit building or something, you need to educate yourself. But if you're just starting out small, single family, duplexes, triplexes, I'd say just go for it and you'll figure it out as you go.
Do you ever want to own a 100-unit place?
I did. Like my goal was 100 units, so I was going as fast as I could to get there. I'd probably be at like 200 or 300 units by now, to be honest with you, because I've wholesaled so much stuff. But the more properties I got, and I was managing them myself, with my wife was helping me, of course, but it actually slowed me down, man. Mm-hmm. And I started wholesaling more and more just because I didn't want to deal with any more of the like the tenant stuff. So yeah, at one point I did, but I think I'm okay now. We're doing we're pretty good with cash flow where we're at, and we're doing some private lending stuff. So we're gonna keep acquiring, but I'm not pushing as hard like I was to get to 100. It'd be nice. Maybe someday I'll roll some stuff over into a bigger, nicer building. We'll see. Okay.
So we just had Michael Zuber in here recently, and we were talking about the potential talks of eventually there's going to be another crash, and there's
Michael's a smart guy.
Yeah, and he was discussing a few things. So I guess from your perspective, do you see one coming, and if so, how does that change your approach, especially with having over 80 rentals?
Mm-hmm. I'd say it's inevitable. I don't know if it's happening right now or when it's going to happen. You can kind of see a little decline, if you're really paying attention. But that being said, it doesn't change my game plan at all because, the way the real estate market works is it's constantly up and down, right? I'm never going to buy at the top, and I'm probably never going to buy right at the bottom. But I'm always going to buy somewhere close to the bottom, whether the market's up or whether it's down, just because of the properties I buy. So I think as long as you're buying right, you're not going to lose. I wouldn't buy something and bank on appreciation, or, hey, if the market does this, I'm going to make this amount of money. You got to make your money on the front end when you buy it, and I think you'll be okay.
Okay, awesome. If people want to get in contact with you, ask more questions, how can they do that?
Yeah, I think you have my contact info. It's Allan@FoglioGroup.com, ALLAN@FOGLIO.com.
Group.com.
Yep, right? FoglioGroup.com.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Any last words?
I think we're good, man. If anyone wants to network or reach out, you've got my email.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Allan, once again.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank you. And it's your time to go out and conquer real estate investing. We'll talk to you later. All right, show notes once again at fearlessflipping.com/Allan. That's ALLAN. I hope that what you've learned today will help you be fearless in the real estate investing process. And I hope that Allan, just as someone that you reach out to, he gave you his email address there. Make sure to reach out to him. Take advantage of getting to know a guy like this, whether you're in Fresno or on the entire other side of the world. It's a good guy to connect with. So that would be my number one piece of advice, is connect with him, connect with tons of experts. You have been checking out Fearless Flipping. Make sure you go out there, because right now is your time to conquer real estate investing.